Hey everyone, Ryan here, or M&R Productions, and in today's video, we're going to be counting down every LEGO Star Wars Buildable Character set from worst to first. LEGO Star Wars Buildable Characters have actually been around since about 2002 with the original Yoda set, although the more modern ones, which have become a pretty standard subline year over year for LEGO Star Wars, really didn't come in till about 2017 with BB-8, just to give you some idea of the history of these things. But they definitely have a range of quality, as you will see. Definitely let me know down in the comments below which one is your favorite and which one is your least favorite, and leave a like while you're down there. Anyway, let's go ahead and get right into it with what I think is the worst buildable character LEGO has ever made, and quite unfortunately that's going to go to the 2002 Yoda set, mostly because it's a 2002 set. This was still the early days of LEGO Star Wars. They hadn't really figured out what they were doing in a lot of places, and this was just kind of something they threw out there, and it was kind of a standalone. I mean, it did have the Darth Maul bust that was similar to it, but as far as a character built out of bricks, this was the only one that they ever did back in the early days. Perhaps that's a little disingenuous. There were actually a couple of promotional buildable characters that they released. There was an R2d2 and a Yoda. However, I don't really count them as part of this lineup because they were promotional and not actual sets that LEGO sold that you could just buy. So they exist, but they were all glued together and they aren't really LEGO sets in the sense that these are. But this Yoda figure did have some redeeming qualities. His cane was a very nice build, despite being rather rudimentary. He did have nice details with his hands and his necklace that he was wearing. I also really like the fact that his eyes could move and dart around, and you could turn his head 360 degrees. So for such an early set, it still did have some neat features packed in, but unfortunately, it just doesn't stand up to what they're able to do today. Next up is a very recent release, somewhat unfortunately one that I was really hyped for, but ended up not liking as much as I thought I would. It's the Imperial Probe Droid, and I think conceptually it's a really good idea to have as a buildable character, and I think it's worthwhile to pick up still, but it does have some flaws, unfortunately, that leave it really under the rest of the pack other than the original Yoda, in my opinion. You'll notice the rest of the buildable characters, bar General Grievous coming up, comes with a minifigure version of themselves, and this should not have been an exception to that rule, given that they've been doing it for the last 5 years. So it's rather unfortunate to see no figure included with this set, and also I found some of the limbs to be a bit flimsy and that they just broke off a little bit too easily. But overall, it's not the end of the world for me with this one. It's just not as good as the others, and that's how these lists tend to go. Next up from episode 9, we have Dio. This is a buildable character that I think the community gave more flack than it was worth giving. The wheel on the bottom, or whatever you want to call it for Dio, is a little bit smaller than I think would be ideal, but overall the build of this was rather fascinating, and the way they got the curvature was very fun. It comes with a little stand. It does also have the UCS plaque included separately, so that's really great. And of course, it comes with the minifigure version of Dio. Overall, I thought this one was a tad overpriced, but at that, still a very fun model nonetheless of Dio. Next up, we have one of the more controversial buildable characters, if you can call a LEGO set really controversial. Most of it's just BS banter on the internet, but this is Yoda. And Yoda, he looks like he's been taking some illicit substances, let's be honest. Especially with those crazy eyes right there. I mean, Yoda is a classic character, and this is the remake that they did in 2019 of that 2002 version, essentially. This time with a lightsaber instead of the cane, which I think was a great change there. The lightsaber, wonderfully built. It's got a little bit of a bend to it, so you don't have to worry about knocking it off or breaking it super easily. The hands conform to it very well, and the clothing really flows nicely. It's got the hood on the back that's kind of open. You can see some of his hair there, and the eyes can move. I like that the eyes can move, the head can move. It's a bit more mobile than the original Yoda, which you would expect after almost 20 years. And then, of course, it comes with the UCS style display plaque and the Yoda minifigure. Overall, this was a pretty good one, although I think for most people, myself included, you kind of get lost in those eyes, and not really in a good way. From 2012, we have the original Ultimate Collector Series R2d2. Pretty revolutionary at the time, in my opinion. You had a great mechanism for dropping and holding up the third leg of R2d2, and then you could kind of place him into that rolling position versus the straight up position when he's just kind of sitting around. You also had the head that can move around. For 2012, I think it was very solid and very well respected as a LEGO set. Still holds up pretty well to today. Next up, we have one of the mid-range buildable characters here. It was $80, released in 2020. We have the Child, aka Baby Yoda. This one did come with the Baby Yoda figure and the UCS style display plaque. plaque. I love that detail that they give these characters. He's got the metal ball that he has in the Razor Crest. Great touch. You have images of him holding it, an image of him dropping it. Very sad. He can move his ears, so the ears have very nice posability to give it a little bit more character, a little more emotion for the child here. The eyes look pretty good with a little brown tint to it, and then the mouth can open and close. You know, the hands can move a little bit, but this one not as mobile, I would say, as the actual full-size Yoda, but overall this one is super cute and definitely a nice addition to the buildable character lineup, even if I don't think it's the best one ever. Next up, we have a really cool one in my opinion with the Porg. I think this one is super fun. You have this like screeching looking open mouth, the wings can flap a little bit, and the tail move. And the tail, in doing so, kind of facilitates the mouth opening and the wings flapping to a degree. So this one has really great detail on the front with like the white feathery look, and on the back it's got a great multicolor feather look as well. So overall, rather impressed with the way the Porg came out, especially at $70. Now this one is kind of a lesser known buildable character. I feel like a lot of people know about the more recent ones, maybe people know about 2002 Yoda, but I think this one flies under the radar for the most part, and I have yet to actually build the copy of this set that I personally own, but the 10186 General Grievous from 2008 is a certified beast. Now this set, because it was 2008, because it was kind of before they were doing what they're doing now, was fundamentally a little bit different than some of the more modern buildable characters. It lacked a really standardized UCS display plaque. It kind of went for something else, which was cool for the time, but lacks continuity with the newer stuff. He doesn't have the minifigure version of himself included either, which isn't the end of the world again, because it's the early days and they really hadn't kind of found their form with these sorts of things. This was still kind of a one-off thing at the time, but the character itself looks rather dashing. General Grievous has always been a fan favorite for Star Wars and Lego Star Wars, and I think they've really knocked out of the park here. They gave him his 4 arms. They really got him spread out there, so he's got a giant wingspan, and he's got all 4 lightsabers with the proper colors and the proper hands, and he's on Utapau there, and boy, I like this General Grievous. It's a very fun buildable character, and one that is still relatively cheap if you want to pick it up on eBay. Getting into the top 2 here from 2021, brand new as I'm filming this video, really, we have the UCS R2d2. Now, this is an updated and in most respects, I would say upgraded version of the 2012 UCS style R2d2. This one also includes a display plaque for your R2D2 figure. It's got a little bit of extra fluff there with the 50th anniversary Lucasfilm brick. Just kind of breaks up the continuity that we had with some of the other stands, but that's fine. The character itself adds a lot of features over the older R2D2, and that's why I think it's so significantly better than the older R2D2. It's changed up the interior of the build more or less completely, like it's just completely overhauled, but I think the main features that they added that are so great that really set this one apart, other than like, obviously the character has some nice curvature to it that it really lacked in the original version because it was just so blocky comparatively, although I still think that 2012 one is just fine. This one does add in the periscope, which looks awesome. Great little touch on top of the head of R2D2, just like he uses on Dagobah Episode 5, and then he can also shoot out the lightsaber from his head as well. So that's stored in his head and you can pull it on out. It's a very nice R2D2. It also retains the same features as the older one with some of the arms that can open up out of the body, and then also the third leg and the ability to kind of move into a moving position versus the standing still position for R2D2. So overall, a very nice buildable character. Now, this is going to bring us to what I personally think, and of course you're more than welcome to disagree in the comments, just don't get nasty about it, what I think is the best buildable character for Lego Star Wars thus far. You know, certainly they could make more, but BB-8 here is immaculate in my opinion. This one is a very fun build. First off, I very much enjoy the building process for this. I think it kind of goes underrated in some respects for being so perfectly round, or at least as close to perfectly round as you can make it reasonably with these Lego bricks here. But you do get the BB-8 minifigure included with the UCS display plaque and a nice little stand to hold BB-8 in place so he doesn't roll away on you. He does have a couple of features built into him, which is pretty crazy that they were even able to pack any features into this thing. Like, you would think, oh yeah, the head can move and swivel a little bit with one of the round things on the side of BB-8's body, which is great, nice feature, but they actually added in one of the fan favorite moments, I would say, from Star Wars Episode 7 in the little lighter that pops out of his body and he gives like the little thumbs up, and that is just a killer feature in my opinion. So much fun, so much character for this buildable character here at number 1 for the best buildable characters list. So let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section below. That is all 10 of what I would define as the buildable character lineup for Lego Star Wars. Now, there are other buildable things that create characters, like buildable figures, which are completely conceptually different than what we're seeing here, as well as the Technic line from about 2002, where you built characters. Those are different. Those deserve their own video. But for today's video, we're taking a look at brick-built buildable characters. So like I said, let me know what you guys think about this list down in the comments section below. Let me know what your favorites and least favorites are. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you can find your way back, and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.